Hello, I am Ignace Aleya from ToleratedCinematics.com, and today I will be showing you how I have created the tomatoes flying around like in the pink juice video. We will be using After Effects and Cinema 4D, and I will take you over how I have done these effects. Also, in the next tutorial, I will be showing you how I have done the color grading for the pink juice video, so be sure to subscribe for the next video. As I said, I will be doing all the effects from that video so you guys can learn with me. So hopefully you enjoy the tutorial. Let's get started. Okay, so the first thing I've done, I have this footage here, which you can download in the description if you want to follow along with the same exact footage. And what I have done is I took my pen tool here, I went to the beginning of my timeline, and then I started keying out my actress. So right here, I just went around her, like so, and closed my mask. Then I changed the mode to, the mask type to none. I pressed M on the keyboard and clicked on the stopwatch for the mask path, which will allow me to animate my path. So I will go to the end of my timeline now, and then I'll just press V on the keyboard. So I got my selection tool selected, and then I'll drag this down and click away, and then just fix my mask just a bit so it's roughly around her. So it doesn't have to be exact. As you can see right here, it's a very rough way of doing it, but it's going to be good enough. So something like this, and then go to the middle of our timeline here and fix it up and see whatever you can do to make it better. Okay, and then right here, okay, still need some fixing. Okay, and then right here, just make sure in the complete video that she is, in the mask path here. Then double check everything. Like right over here, it gets out of there. So I'll try to play it back. Okay. And right here we still have one mistake. And then just right over here with the hand coming out. Okay, so this should be it. Now we have our complete mask around our actress, and we will change the mask to a subtract mode. So now she will be gone, and we will only see our footage, and that's what we need actually. So I will change this fit up to 100%, click on the footage, go to layer, pre-compose, make, move all the attributes in the new composition, and then masked comp, click OK, and then we'll go right over here to the tracker and click on track camera. And now the camera is going to track the complete shot, but it isn't going to look at this location here, at this part of the canvas. And we don't want that actually, because she was moving. We don't want that to change the 3D camera tracker, because it's going to analyze that as well. So we need everything to be static. So that's why I have deleted her from this shot, and then I have to create this into a new composition, because else the camera tracker isn't going to notice that she has been masked. So that is the reason behind it. And then just wait until the track is done. Okay, so once your camera is done tracking, just check if everything went okay, but as we can see here, everything seems to track well. And then let's get back into the composition, press M on the keyboard and change this mask to none again so you can see her again, but the shot is still masked because it's already analyzed. And then the next thing we want to do is move here at the beginning and see for some points like these three here, right click and create a null and camera. So now we have this these three layers here, and let's click on the camera and go to File, Export, and export to Maxon Cinema 4D. Just save it somewhere. I will save it here and Tomato Scene 01 for example, and then get into Maxon Cinema 4D and just search for the scene and open it in Cinema 4D right here, and we will see that our camera has been exported correctly. So if we're going to play this back, you'll see that the camera is moving. So now what we should do is get out of the camera and see for ourselves where it's animating. And actually you can do this with all the dimensions and record everything and import it correctly, but this is very rough because yeah, we didn't have much time to create this project, so that's why I have done it this way. And then we will go over here and choose the pen tool. If you don't see the pen tool, it's because you don't have R17 yet, and then you should use the spline, yeah, just one of these splines, whatever you feel comfortable with. The only thing is that we need a spline at the end, so you can follow along pretty easily as well. So let's go to the front view here and draw a spline. So maybe one that comes from left below the camera, because the tomatoes are coming from right here. So we'll start here and then try to create something cool and make them fly to the left again. Maybe something like this should work fine. So let's get back in our main view here and click away, by the way, if you're done. I made a little mistake here, or no, I didn't. Okay, so we can see right here in our perspective that our spline is straight up. So what we want to do is click on the selection tool here, go to the points mode, click on our spline, and then just move around our points. So one coming from behind the camera, one is a little bit more in the center, and then this one is like in a good location, but then these should be further away. So it's actually moving away. So we want something to look like it's actually going in depth. So we're going back into the camera to see how the spline looks, and we can see right here we don't see enough of the spline bottom, so we are going to select these 2 points and get back into the camera, try to move them up a little bit. Okay, and a little bit more forward, and maybe this as well. Move it more forward, and these as well. So it's really getting away of the camera. So now we have our spline right here, and this looks pretty nice. Maybe more to the left here and more up, and then these maybe more down. So it's just playing around a little bit. Okay, so this is pretty cool. There we go, and this can be down as well a little bit. Okay, so the tomatoes are coming from here, going to the right, and then back to the left and up. Okay, so this is what we want. So the next thing we will do is add our tomatoes. So I will use a sphere for this because this isn't a modeling tutorial, and actually the tomato I bought it online because I didn't have time to model it myself. So I just went to one 3D store, and then I just bought the tomato and I textured it in Cinema 4D. So we're going to get the sphere here in position. So this is way too big, so we'll just make it smaller. And then what we want is go to the MoGraph tool and choose the cloner effect, and then just drag and drop the sphere into our cloner. Click on the cloner, go to object, the object tab, and then the mode, we're going to change it to a grid array, or actually change it to an object, I'm sorry. And then just drag and drop our spline into the object layer, and we will see that our spline is now connected with these spheres here. So go back to the cloner object, and now if we're going to play with the end, you'll see that it's going to start from the bottom and it moves up. So that's something that we are looking for. And then with the offset tool, you can do a lot of cool things, maybe some variation as well, and the offset like so. But actually, I'm not going to do that for this video. So the offset isn't really important for this video, but the start is. So change the end to 0 and the start to 0, and then click on the stopwatch here. Well, it's not a stopwatch, it's just a circle, but I'm used to it because of After Effects. So then move ahead a little bit in the timeline, and then just make it 100% and click on the button again. So now we are going to see an animation like this. And you can see that it's actually shooting and it's not smooth, and that's because its distribution isn't correct. So we should change this to even, and now it should be smooth enough. Okay, and then you can also change the count if you want to. So maybe we would just want 8. We can also render the instances. That will mean that it will go faster if you have like complex objects. And then apart from that, we will click on our cloner effect and go to the MoGrav effect and effector random. So it's a little bit more random because right now they are spaced out evenly, moving evenly. So we don't want that. We want to move them around a little bit. Maybe this is a little bit too much. And this to 200. And let's see how that looks like. Another thing that we should animate is the end point here. So right here we will click on the end here and move ahead in the timeline, and also move up the end so they're completely on top. There we go. And now they should move a little bit better. You can also drag keyframes like this so they move, and you can play around with them this way. Okay, so that's already a little bit better. And apart from that, it's a little bit like, yeah, moving a little bit weird over here. That's because the spline isn't perfect anymore. So let's go over here and rotate it just like this. And then play this back, and now it should be smoother. Still a bit difficult, so let's see what we can do to fix this. You can also scale it up a little bit so the curve is going a little bit slower, like so. And I think this is going to solve the problem. Okay. Yes, there we go. So now it's looking better. You can actually make the spline go up a little bit higher, because right now our tomatoes would stop in the frame, so move it up. And move this up as well. Maybe also scale it up and rotate it just a bit. There we go. So this is nice. Okay, and then one last thing we should do is go to the cloner object and go to transform. And if we move back to the middle of a timeline, we will play around with these here. You can see that it's going to rotate our tomatoes a little bit. And the only thing that we actually want to use is the pitch right here. So if we go to the beginning and click on the button for the pitch and go to the end and change this to like 360 and click on the button again, and then we should have our tomatoes animated around our spline. So but now we have another problem. If we're going to see this, you're going to see a lot of jitter, and you see that they're moving from left to right. This is an easy fix. Just go to the object of the cloner object and check smooth rotation. And if we're going to play this back, you will see that the animation is going to be a lot smoother. And there we go. So this is actually everything I have done to create this effect. Maybe play around a little bit with the keyframes, so make it faster and slower. You can also go in the window and the timeline here, dope sheet, and then just move it in over here. And then you can play with all these settings here. If you don't understand anything of this, check out a tutorial. But actually, to create the effect, you don't need it per se, so you can do this the way I have done this right here. And then the next thing I have done is went to the render settings, change the export range to all frames, and save it out as a TIFF file here, and change it to alpha channel. and exported it actually just like this. Changed the render engine to a physical render engine, so the anti-aliasing is going to be better, and also yeah, the way the sky works and stuff like that. To make them look realistic, I used an HDRI image from that wood. So actually to make the tomatoes look realistic, I used a HDRI image, and an HDRI image is just a spherical image of a location with a high dynamic range, of course. But I didn't create my own HDRI map. I didn't want to spend all the time making one, and I just searched on internet for an HDRI image of a wood, so actually something very similar with a similar sky, similar daylight, and then I use that to make it realistic. But for this example, we can just go over here and use a physical sky, and then right click on our sky, and I have done exactly the same. Right click, Cinema 4D tags, go to the compositing tag actually, and then uncheck scene by camera. And now if we're going to render it, you're not going to see the sky, but you're going to see the reflections on our tomatoes, for example. You can see that it's actually a lot better right now. So if we disable the sky, we have it like this, and if we enable the sky, we have it like that. So we can also create a new material right here and drop it onto our tomatoes. What I have done is just used a red color here. Well, actually a little bit pink color, not too much, of course. And then I went to the reflectance channel, deleted the specular, added a Beckman channel here, and increased the roughness to around 35%. And the reflection, I went pretty high with that. Also for the specular, you can also use some texture maps for these, but I didn't have to. I didn't do that because yeah, the tomatoes are pretty small, and I can still do a lot of compositing in After Effects. So for the layer for now, I just used a dielectric, and something like this should look fine. And if we're going to render this out, we now have our tomatoes. So this is what I had, and then I just exported this to After Effects. I created a folder, opened it up, and used a file name and saved this, and now it's going to render image sequences. The reason why we work with image sequences and not an entire movie is when Cinema 4D crashes, or you want to stop with Cinema 4D and do something else and stop rendering, you can just continue that render later in the day, and also it's going to give better quality. And then once you are done, you just click over here and click yes, because it's going to duplicate it. And we're going to render out our entire sequence. Just wait around a little bit, and then we can import that in After Effects. So I will be right back. So once you have rendered it out in Cinema 4D, you will see here in your folder that you have multiple images. If you click on the first one and check the sequence here, import it, and you will have a straight embedded. Okay. And if you drag it onto your footage, you will have your spheres flying around, but you can see that it's shorter than the actual length of our composition, and that's because of the composition settings. Right here we have a frame rate of 24. If we right click here, interpret footage and main, we will see that the assumed this frame rate is 30. So we change this to 24 and click OK, and that way it's going to be the equal length and we won't have any problems normally. So let's see how it looks like. Okay, so there we have the tomatoes. Maybe we should make them a little bit bigger and render them out again. Also, maybe they shouldn't disappear so much in the distance, but you will get the idea of how I have done the animation, and this is exactly how I have done it. So next thing I've done is I picked my tomatoes here and tried to match them up with the color here. So I went to the curves tab and took away of the highlights and took away of the dark shadows, and actually you will see that I have a 32 bits per channel sRGB linearized workspace, and that's actually the correct workspace if you're using visual effects. So try working with these. If you don't understand what these do, YouTube is full of it, so you will definitely find something on there. So right here I have my original here, and that's because I just changed it like 1 millimeter, and you will see such a big difference, and that's because of the linearized workspace. So now I have a very small change here, and it's actually making it look better. Then also I will go to the color correction tint and change this to like 20%, and it will look a lot better as well. So another thing I can do is blur it out just a little bit, like fast blur 1 or maybe 2. It's up to you, so 1 should be good enough. And then one thing I have done as well is with an external plugin, actually, RSMB. RSMB is actually a real smart motion blur plugin. So if we're going to drag this onto our footage, we will see that it's going to blur the motion out. So it's actually like a real moving tomato now. So if we're going to play this back, it's going to look a lot more realistic because it has motion blur. And actually the turn here is a little bit too sharp as well, because it's actually turning very fast. So you should have a very smooth spline. But that's all. These are all things that you can work on with some time and effort. But you can see that this looks pretty cool already. And yeah, now it's up to you to recreate this. So yeah, this is the tutorial on how to create the tomatoes effect. Also, in the next tutorial, I will be doing the grading. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, give it a like. Also, subscribe to the channel for more videos. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.